Hi, this is Brass Check, and today I'd like to talk about a fantastically important conference that's coming up in Scotts Valley, California. That's near Santa Cruz. The dates are September 6th through 8th, and the name of this conference is Effects of Electromagnetic Frequency Exposure, Diagnosis and Treatment, the Impact of Today's Wireless Technology. And my understanding, and I've checked this, is this is the first major medical conference for health professionals in the United States to address the health effects of EMF, EMR exposure. I mean, here we are, 2019. These technologies have been around for a long time. And finally, somebody is putting together a conference for physicians. This is by physicians for physicians. This is not some fringe organization. This is a conference by physicians for physicians to address the health effects of EMF and EMR exposure. What are EMF and EMR exposure? Cell phones, both the cell phone towers and the individual cell phone devices, and wireless, which so many people have at work and so many people have at home. And before I go into this in greater detail, let me just give everybody a piece of advice. Get Ethernet for your home. You don't need wireless. And if it costs you money, it's the best money you're ever going to spend. If you're unable or unwilling to get Ethernet for your home, learn how to turn your Wi-Fi off at night. And someday, it may take months, it may take years, you're going to listen back to this call and go, oh my God, how did he know? Well, believe me, I know. And many, many more people are going to find out. Bottom line, wireless is not good for you. Wi-Fi is not good for you, and it is especially not good for sleep. It actively interferes with a lot of the biological processes that need to happen during sleep for you to stay healthy. This is especially important for pregnant women. In fact, I would urge anybody who is pregnant or thinking of getting pregnant, turn off the Wi-Fi and keep it off. Okay, so this conference again is going to be held September 6th through 8th, 2019 in Santa Cruz. And I'm just going to read some of the bullet points. Learn from global medical experts in the field who diagnose and treat EMF-related conditions. Now, did you know that there are doctors treating EMF-related conditions? Probably not. I bet if you went to your own doctor, and 99.9% of the doctors in your town, you'd get a blank stare from the ones that have some decency, and you get eye rolling from the ones that don't. But EMF does cause medical problems, and those medical problems can be addressed. Learn how to protect yourself and your patients from electromagnetic radiation exposure. So I've given you the big one. Another big one, do not allow your cell phone to touch the side of your head when you're talking on it. Ever. Get in the habit of holding it at a significant distance from your head. Those two things right there will help you tremendously. Also going to be covered at the conference, learn how to diagnose and treat EMF, EMR-related problems in your complex mold, Lyme-infected, and metal toxic patients so that they can recover. Okay, so there's a little bit of a hint of what this is all about. A lot of people have mold injuries we have a lot of moldy buildings in the United States and elsewhere, I'm sure, but I only know about our own country. And we have a lot of people with Lyme. We have a lot of people that are toxic from heavy metals. And what appears to be the case is that Wi-Fi takes all of these problems and amplifies them significantly. So if somebody is suffering from a mold injury, or they have Lyme, or they have heavy metal toxin, having the Wi-Fi on all the time, being on the cell phone a lot, is going to virtually guarantee that they can't recover. Now, you're I guarantee your local doctor doesn't have a clue, and you know, all the other local doctors in town don't have a clue. Who's this conference for? Well, it's for physicians, and that would be medical doctors, naturopathic doctors, doctors of osteopathy, who are interested in environmental medicine, functional medicine, complementary and alternative medicine. It's also for integrative practitioners who want additional education in the environmental medicine area. So PAs, nurse practitioners, chiropractors, registered nurses, acupuncturists, dentists, nutritionists are welcome, and medical students are welcome. The woman who is the spearhead behind this is one of the, frankly, one of the great human beings of our time, and it would be nice if people were more aware of her work. I'm going to talk about her in a second. Her name is Deborah Davis, and she's written some really, really important books. She was the founding director of the Board on Environmental Studies and Toxicology at the U.S. National Research Council and the Center for Environmental Oncology at the University of Pittsburgh Cancer Institute. So, less any trolls out there. I think this is a lightweight undertaking. You're lightweight. This is actually a very serious undertaking. She also served as an appointee to the Chemical Safety and Hazard Investigation Board and was a member of the Board of Scientific Counselors of the National Toxicology Program. She's written over 200 publications on environmental health, both journals and in books. Her articles have appeared in The Lancet, in the Journal of American Medicine, and in Scientific American. And her books are just fantastic. The Secret History of the War on Cancer, When Smoke Ran Like Water, and the third book, Disconnect, The Truth About Cell Phone Radiation. And her books have been translated into 14 different languages. She's earned a PhD in Science Studies at the University of Chicago and a Master of Public Health and Epidemiology at Johns Hopkins. So she is one of the people spearheading this. Some of the topics that are going to be covered, I'm just going to run them down. Lisa Nagy, she's going to talk about differential diagnosis of Lyme mold and EMF sensitivity. Deborah Davis, Nagy is a MD. Deborah Davis, I've already described. She's going to talk about the clinical implications of radiofrequency radiation in infertility and other chronic health problems. Magda Havas is going to deliver the keynote on the effects of EMF and EMR exposure. Kalpana Patel is going to talk about her environmental medicine practice and how she diagnoses and treats EMF sensitivity. Victoria Dunkley, MD, is going to talk about screen time and children and a plan for getting your kids off these infernal devices. Magda Havas is going to come back and do a talk on treatment approaches for electrosensitivity. And, you know, just like everything else, some people are more sensitive to electromagnetic frequencies than others. You know, some people don't get allergies outdoors. Some people can't go outdoors in the spring. There's a significant percentage of the population that is very sensitive to these frequencies, and the reality is being suppressed. The science of it is being suppressed. The medical aspects of this are being suppressed, and it's just unbelievable that here we are in 2019, and this is the first conference of its kind ever held. Peter Sierck, S-I-E-R-C-K, is going to give a talk on understanding EMF testing, sources testing, and case histories. Then Theodora Scarato, Cici Doucette, Peter Sullivan, and Peter Sierck are going to have a panel discussion, the nuts and bolts of EMF avoidance. how to retrofit your home and office, join experts to learn how to transition your home and office to safe technology, see the leading radiation detection devices and discover the pros and cons of each. Also come away with easy strategies to share with patients to significantly reduce exposures from personal devices. Bring your questions for a robust Q&A after the presentation. I've already given you the big one, but still, there's a lot more that can be done. And unfortunately, some people are on the pathway of cell towers. Other people are in apartment buildings that are being irradiated with Wi-Fi from numerous sources. So they may need to do additional things. There are testing devices that you can get. Some communities now have people you can hire to come and do a test of your home. We did that in our home, and I can't tell you what a positive difference it made. Stephanie Carter, MD, is going to talk about complex patient cases. MD, Stephanie Carter, MD. Cindy Russell, MD, is going to talk about EMF exposure in schools, the way forward. And this is a big problem. There was some crazy school, public school in Ontario, Canada, that set up these monstrously overpowered Wi-Fi system and literally children were developing heart trouble and even heart attacks, young children. And the school board, in its typical of the arrogant school boards that unfortunately dominate the world, or at least the United States and Canada, the school refused to do anything about the Wi-Fi. Unbelievable, but true. We ran a story on it several months ago. Gunnar Hauser, MD, PhD, is going to talk about impairments that occur after EMF exposure. Elizabeth Seymour, MD, is going to address some other cases from an organization called EHC Dallas. And she's an MD, and so is Stephanie McCarter. So let's get a quote from Stephanie McCarter, because this is so important. Many signs and symptoms resulting from EMR, electromagnetic radiation, are treated with medications, which only give temporary relief, as the source of EMR is not removed. And more severe EMR sensitivity and degenerative conditions often result from continued exposure. This is very important. It's not just a matter of somebody being uncomfortable. It's a matter of somebody having their resistance to this kind of stimulation break down, and the damage to them accelerating. So this is not a simple matter, It's something that really needs to be taken seriously. And the idea, it's typical that the medical industrial complex would prefer to cover up the symptoms with their very expensive medications when all that's required is to turn the damn thing off, because that makes them no money. Stephanie McCarter goes on to say, medications will not continue to be effective as the cell membrane cannot remain stable under the current environmental conditions, especially with the introduction of 5G radiation. Now, one thing you can clearly do is absolutely, positively do not get a 5G a Wi-Fi broadcaster for your home, right? There's just absolutely no reason to do anything like that. And these experts are coming from all over the world to be part of this. Dr. Hauser, MD, he's coming from the University of Cologne, or he studied at the University of Cologne, and he's now living in Canada. Actually, he studied in Canada, and then he worked as a full-time person in the Department of Medicine and a member of the UCLA Brain Research Institute. Okay, so originally German, trained in Canada, and a professor at UCLA, and frequently published doctor. We also have another MD that's traveling a long way to be part of this, Dr. MD, Pilar Munoz Calero. She specializes in pediatrics, neonatology, stomatology, and addiction medicine. She is the president of the Fundación Alborada, and medical director of Alborada Outpatient Hospital, as well as the co-director of the chair of pathology and environment of the Universidad Complutense de Madrid. So she's coming from Madrid. She's also an associate professor on the faculty of the medicine of the Universidad Complutense de Madrid. Again, very serious, very heavy-duty people. Will the mainstream news media pay any attention to this conference? Will the big pharma trolls, the Quack Watch and other frauds, will they be out there smearing this event? I don't know. Another physician, MD, who also has a PhD, Dr. Dominique Belplom. He's a professor of oncology at Paris Descartes University and president of the French Association for Research on Treatment Against Cancer. Since 2008, Dr. Belplom's medical team has studied many hundreds of European patients who suffer from electromagnetic intolerance syndrome. The team has developed EHS diagnostic methods based on blood tests and special brain scans. Their research shows multiple abnormalities in blood and tissue. At least 30% of EHS sufferers have high levels of histamine, indicating severe allergic reactions. 50% show excessive stress proteins. 30% have levels of antibodies and proteins that are telltale sign of both thermal and even possible brain damage in areas where Alzheimer's starts. Many have low levels of melatonin, a crucial anti-cancer hormone. And I referred at the very beginning of this, and it pays to repeat it. Make sure, at a minimum, you learn how to turn your Wi-Fi off. I don't care how inconvenient it is. Turn it off at night. You are interfering with your melatonin production by leaving the Wi-Fi on. And you need melatonin to sleep properly. And that sleep is the regulator of all kinds of things that your body needs. And melatonin, according to this bit here, is an anti-cancer hormone. I never thought of it that way, but I'm not going to second-guess a professor of oncology, even though I'm sure there's a bunch of idiot trolls out there that are just salivating and waiting for the chance. Let's see. Who else do we have? We have PhD Ole Johansson, and he is a past associate professor at the Karolinska Institute, Department of Neuroscience, also head of the experimental dermatology unit, and a guest and adjunct professor in basic and clinical neuroscience at the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm. So as I said before, nothing lightweight about this. We'll see if the lightweight news media carries it. We can already predict what the psycho foaming at the mouth big pharma trolls are going to do. But you can share this information with your doctor, assuming he or she's interested. You can share it with friends. You can read about the conference. You can attend the conference even. Hopefully they're going to put those videos up so that the public can see them. The woman who is the spearhead behind this is frankly, I think, one of the most distinguished people in public health in the United States today. And told you her name. You can look it up yourself and see if I'm exaggerating. I don't think I am. This website that you want to go to for more information about this is EMFconference.com. EMFconference.com. And you can go there and read all about it and see that, thank goodness, finally, it took how many decades? We've now in the United States have the first conference of its type to be held on U.S. territory. And we thank Deborah Davis, fantastic public health advocate, PhD, Master of Public Health, author of over 200 publications on environmental health, author of 3 great books, The Secret History of the War on Cancer, When Smoke Ran Like Water, and Disconnect, The Truth About Cell Phone Radiation. This is a hopeful sign, and please spread the word. You can guarantee that the news media is not going to do a thing to let the medical profession or the public know about this very important conference. Thank you.